did speak to Mr. Miller a couple of months ago in connection to this film and Bottle Shock.
Okay.
And he's obviously crazy about you, and I'm wondering what attracts you to the idea of working with him.
Because you read the scripts and they don't obey any rules, whatever so-called rules of writing are supposed to be, but and his movies resist any labels. And that's, I think, always attractive to an actor, because you're only as good as the writing. That much I've learned.
Yeah.
And your imagination won't kick in unless something kicks it. So it's kind of a no-brainer to me. It's like a holiday in a way, or a playground. And you know something must be right because these great actors are there to work with.
Yeah, and it is like its own sort of rep company. I mean, you're working with people that you worked with on the previous project with Mr. Miller. And
yeah.
I'm wondering what that does, how that affects the experience of shooting these films.
I think it means that there are all sorts of shortcuts. It doesn't make things necessarily simpler or easier, because you're talking about actors who are very challenging to work with, and so it should be. You want to work, and it's not like a career move or a soft option. It's just the way actors would like it to be. There's a proper marketplace. It means maybe there are shortcuts in terms of the usual absence on a film set of rehearsal. It means you have a kind of shorthand dialogue, which in some ways maybe takes the place of rehearsal.
Sure.
You can just try things. It's more improvisational. There's a lot of trust around. I think that would be the most important thing.
Yeah. What amazes me is how different these two movies are, too. Nobel Son.
Yeah.
Very frenetic.
Totally different rhythms and totally different look and totally different kind of atmosphere and energy to them.
Yeah, and you're playing a real kind of flamboyantly egotistical character in this, and you're just terrific in it. And when you read it on the page, did you have an idea right away how you would approach this guy?
Well, I really didn't have a clue, and I got on the plane with not much of a clue either, because the last thing you should probably ever do as an actor is judge your character. So it was a question of finding some way to play him without judging him. I always rely on fairly basic instincts, and some instinct made me go to my dentist in London and say, I need you to make me some imperfect front teeth. Because I thought there was something sort of shark-like about his appetites.
Right.
And I needed to feel different and look in the mirror and look different. I thought that would be at least a start to something. And it helped a lot. Whether you notice it or not watching the film, I've got these two front teeth that kind of just wrap over each other rather than, being a victim of the great American dentist. Which
do you do that often? Do you use kind of external forces to inform kind of the internal life of the character?
Well, not that often, although, the costume is very important to me, and usually that's a slow process, and there's always a discussion with the costume designer, and some characters care about the way they look and others don't, and, sometimes I'm happy to totally hand it over if you're playing somebody who makes no choices about what they wear. The palette is full of different elements, I guess. It just depends. In this case, it was an instinct that I obeyed and it helped, but I don't usually go for strong. I'm stuck with who I am, basically, and so are you.
Right. And I noticed that there seems to be, maybe I'm incorrect, but this misconception that you don't delve into comedy that often, but in fact your resume is populated with comical performances.
I hope so. I always think laughter's available. It may not be a joke, it may not be a gag, but laughter of recognition by an audience, I think's there, whatever you do. I got quite a lot of laughs when I played Hamlet.
Yeah, yeah. And is that particularly freeing to play a character like this, and is there any danger of taking it too far?
There's always that danger, and that's where you need the director. Mm-hmm. Less, is a very useful and quick word for a director to utter.
Right. Once we announced that your presence on the show, we were inundated with listener questions. There's a lot of love for you out there. So I know we have limited time, so let me get a couple of these off before we have to part. Anne wants to know, I think Anne is from Germany. Okay. She's really curious about your directing project. I think it's a movie called The House in Paris, and where you are with that.
Well, I now know that I don't shoot the last Harry Potter until the end of next year, so although it starts shooting at the beginning of next year. And so therefore there is space, and so with the stars aligning and all the rest of the finagling that goes to making an independent movie, with luck, we will shoot it next year.
Oh, that would be terrific.
That's the aim.
Yeah. Have you directed stage as well?
I just finished directing a play in London at the Donmar Warehouse called Creditors by Strindberg, and that also is due to hopefully have another life in New York next year.
Is there something about directing that kind of completes you in a way that acting alone doesn't, or is it just a natural extension for you?
It's become a very, very different animal. I think it's because I trained at art school and was a graphic designer, it's like pulling all of the elements together. It's not that I prefer one or the other, but it just feels that one's got to a point now where there are certain things about telling a story that you want to hand on, and that the whole business is a bit of a relay race, and at certain times you find yourself holding a baton, and the job is to pass it on. So it's a question then of finding a story that has images jumping off the page that you don't want to act in necessarily, but you would like to talk to a DP about.
Right. And John wants to know about, you mentioned your shooting schedule with Harry Potter, but you're also involved in Burton's Alice in Wonderland as well.
Yeah.
Have you already started shooting on that, and tell me about that
experience?
Well,
I've started. It's a complicated process because some of it's live action, some of it's animation, and some of it's stop motion. And I'm playing the caterpillar, which is animated, but it's my face. So I've done a bit of early work on it where they shot me speaking the lines so that they've got something to work with, and then they'll go away and spend the next year putting the whole movie together, and then I guess I'll go and record it all again. So
that is interesting when technology evolves like it has so quickly. It does kind of offer more different opportunities for the actor.
When it's in the hands of a complete visionary like Tim, then I'm very happy to be a tube of paint and just hand myself over.
Yeah. I just want to say that the film is fantastic. It's so enjoyable, and you are fantastic in it. Yeah,
Thanks so much.
I would imagine so. And I thank you so much for your time. And Mr. Rickman, we're all huge fans of yours, and please come back to us sometime in the future.
Well, I'm an honorary geek then.
You are. You'll receive a special plaque pretty soon.
Yeah, I think I'd like that.